You know, whenever we think about money, we usually gravitate toward the absolute extremes. I mean, think about your own wallet right now, or your couch cushions.
Oh yeah, couch cushions are usually a gold mine for the stuff we don't want.
Exactly. We tend to focus on those tiny, annoying pennies that weigh down our pockets, the ones that just end up vacuumed by accident. Or, on the flip side, we fixate on the crisp, high-value paper. You know, the hundreds, the things that feel like real, tangible wealth.
Right, the stuff that actually makes you feel rich when you hold it.
Yeah, exactly. But sitting right there in the center is this bizarre middle child of the currency world, the $2 denomination. It is often overlooked, and honestly, it's sometimes treated like a novelty joke.
It really is, like a magic trick or something.
Yeah. But today, we're going to see that it is secretly hiding some of the most fascinating stories about how our global systems actually function. So, welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one. It's a really unique topic.
It is, because today our mission is to take a single, seemingly mundane Wikipedia disambiguation page. Literally just the entry for the symbol $2, and we're going to use it as a map.
Very weird, very specific map.
A very specific map to decode how humanity values things, how we navigate international linguistics, and even how the hidden architecture of the internet shapes our reality. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because looking at this seemingly simple web page, it's not just a directory, it's a philosophical document.
It really is. And you know, what's fascinating here is that a disambiguation page, by its very nature, isn't just a list of links. It is a digital crossroads.
Right.
And it only exists because human language is fundamentally messy. I mean, it's ambiguous.
Right.
But you type in $sign and a 2, the internet has no idea what you actually want.
It's just guessing at that point.
Exactly. You might be looking for a piece of paper or a heavy piece of metal, maybe a specific local currency in a remote island nation, or even a line of computer code. This single page basically proves that one tiny symbol means vastly different things depending on where you are physically standing on Earth or where you are operating inside a computer system.
That is wild. And I want to start our journey in the physical world, specifically with a massive transformation that hit me right away when digging into this. The death of paper.
Yes. The Great Coin Migration.
Yeah. Because there is a clear, undeniable pattern listed right at the top under the currency section. Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. All three of these Commonwealth nations share a very specific historical timeline.
They systematically took their $2 bills out of circulation.
Exactly. And they explicitly replaced them with $2 coins. I mean, Canada's coin even became this huge cultural icon with its own nickname, the toonie.
The toonie, yeah.
Yeah.
It's famous.
But wait, I have to push back on this right out of the gate. Because printing a piece of paper, or, polymer, is vastly cheaper than mining and smelting and minting millions of multi-metal coins.
Oh, absolutely. The upfront cost is huge.
Right. So why would these massive economies intentionally take on the huge upfront cost of replacing cheap paper with heavy metal?
Well, it comes down to a concept in economics called the velocity of money.
The velocity of money. Okay.
Yeah. So a $2 denomination is basically a workhorse. It changes hands constantly. You use it for coffee, for the bus, for a quick tip.
Right. It's always moving.
Exactly. And because of that high velocity, a paper note wears out incredibly fast.
Yeah.
It gets crumpled, it gets run through the washing machine, it gets torn.
Yeah.
Central banks were finding that the lifespan of a $2 bill was remarkably short.
Like, how short?
Sometimes less than a year.
Oh, wow. Just completely destroyed in a year.
Yep. So while a coin costs significantly more to produce up front, its lifespan is measured in decades. So the systematic abandonment of paper in favor of metal for this specific value, it wasn't an aesthetic choice. It was a ruthless, long-term logistical calculation.
That makes a lot of sense. It actually reminds me of the transition from cassette tapes to CDs back in the day.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right. You were upgrading to something vastly more durable. It didn't, unravel in your car stereo, and it could survive a lot more physical abuse. But here is where that transition gets interesting to me.
How so?
Well, moving to a CD fundamentally changed the tactile experience of listening to music. And moving from a bill to a toonie changes the physical experience in your pocket.
You go from a silent wallet to Jingletown.
Exactly. You go from carrying a quiet, foldable wallet to suddenly jingling when you walk. So I have to ask, does changing the physical weight and sound of a currency change how we psychologically value it?
Oh, 100%.
Because think about it. Do you treat a pocket full of heavy coins with the same respect as a crisp bill?
No, you really don't. And that is the exact psychological friction this transition creates. When something becomes a coin, It crosses a mental boundary for the consumer.
A mental boundary.
Yeah, it stops feeling like wealth and starts feeling like change. It becomes something you uh, toss into a jar at the end of the day or leave in your car cup holder.
Right, it's just cup holder money at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than something you carefully organize face up in a billfold. The physical medium dictates our psychological relationship with the value. A $2 paper bill feels like money to be managed, but a $2 coin feels like a utility to be spent.
Which brings us to the countries that looked at that exact logic and completely ignored it.
The outliers.
The outliers.
Oh, yeah.
Because while those Commonwealth nations were busy replacing all their paper with metal, you have the United States acting as this stubborn outlier.
Stubborn is definitely the word for it.
Right. The U.S. $2 bill is listed on this page as a currently active denomination, not a coin, a bill. But let's be real, if you try to pay for a coffee with a $2 bill in America today, the cashier is going to hold it up to the light like it's a mythical artifact.
They'll probably call their manager.
Yeah. People hoard them. They give them as gifts inside birthday cards. Why do Americans treat a circulating piece of legal tender like it's a rare collectible?
It's a brilliant example of artificial scarcity and the perception of value. The U.S. Treasury still prints them, sure, but because there aren't dedicated slots for them in most retail cash registers, businesses don't hand them out as change.
Oh, so they just get stuffed in the vault.
Exactly. And because you don't receive them as change, you don't spend them. It's a self-fulfilling cycle of invisibility. The bill basically fails as a daily utility, so it survives purely as a novelty.
That is so weird.
It is. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, look at the contrast presented right next to it on the page. Hong Kong.
Right. Hong Kong uses a $2 coin, but the documentation makes a very specific note about its rank. It states that the $2 coin is the third highest denomination coin of the entire Hong Kong dollar system.
Exactly. You have two major global economies that are complete opposites in how they handle the exact same numerical concept.
It's night and day.
The U.S. clings to a paper bill that no one actually uses for commerce, while Hong Kong elevates its $2 coin to a top-tier status within its coinage hierarchy.
Because being the third highest coin means it isn't just pocket lint.
Right. It is a foundational pillar of their daily physical economic structure.
Wait, if Hong Kong's $2 is the third highest coin, it really highlights how relative the concept of two actually is. I mean, two of something could be literal pocket change you toss in a fountain in one place, and a heavy, significant piece of purchasing power in another.
It's just numbers.
Yeah, it's just numbers, but the local economy dictates the gravity of that number.
And that relativity explodes when you look at the sheer, overwhelming global footprint of the $2 concept. I mean, it completely transcends the word dollar.
It really does. When I was looking through the sheer geographic spread of this symbol, I expected a massive list of places that just call their money dollars.
Which there are a lot of.
Sure, yeah. You have a huge cluster of island nations, the Bahamian dollar, the Barbadian, the Belize, Bermudian Cook Islands.
Fijian, Singapore.
Right, Solomon Islands, Tuvalu. It's a massive list, but I don't want to just read a map to you. What stopped me in my tracks was when the list shifted gears completely into currencies that aren't even called dollars, but they still claim ownership of that specific $2 symbol.
This is where it gets really fun.
It's wild. You see the Samoan tala and the Tongan paʻanga, and then you see this massive South American presence. The Argentine peso, the Mexican peso, the Uruguayan peso, and even the Brazilian real.
This raises an important question about how standardized symbols operate on a global scale. Think about the cultural mechanics happening here.
Okay.
You have incredible linguistic and economic diversity.
Yeah.
I mean, a tala is not a peso and a paʻanga is not a real. Yet they are all categorized on this page under the exact same Western numerical heading of a $sign and a 2.
Notice how the source categorizes all of these under the literal symbol, even when the base currency is something totally different. It shows how the $sign itself has been essentially hijacked as a universal shorthand for currency.
Hijacked is a great word for it.
Like, if you are traveling and you see that S with a line through it, your brain immediately registers money, even if the word dollar doesn't exist in the local language. I mean, trying to pack a wallet for a world tour based on this page would be a logistical nightmare.
It really would. But it's a profound decoupling of the symbol from the word. The symbol has become an independent entity, much like how the icon of a floppy disk on your computer still means save.
Oh, that's so true. Nobody uses physical floppy disks anymore.
Exactly. The visual anchor survives the literal meaning. It's a localized Western symbol that's successfully integrated into completely different linguistic systems, mostly because the global financial infrastructure demanded a standardized visual shorthand.
And speaking of visual shorthand surviving their literal meanings, here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, the digital stuff.
Yes,
No.
because we've been discussing this symbol as physical objects you can hold. Paper bills, Canadian toonies, pesos, things you can touch, things you can fold.
Real-world stuff.
But then, tucked away under a tiny section labeled Other Uses, the documentation takes a sharp, unexpected left turn into the digital realm. It explicitly lists the $2 as a, quote, formal parameter in some programming languages.
A formal parameter.
Yeah, we completely leave the physical world. We leave wallets and banks, and we drop straight into digital code. But what does that actually mean for the everyday person listening to this?
It is the ultimate abstraction.
Yeah.
In programming, a formal parameter is essentially a variable. When a computer script or command line interface sees that symbol, it completely strips away any identity of buying power or economic value.
It just ignores the money aspect completely.
Right. To the machine, it is no longer money. It becomes an empty placeholder waiting for data to be passed into it. If a program is fed a list of instructions, that symbol just means whatever the second piece of information happens to be.
Oh, I see.
It is a linguistic tool for organizing machine logic, rather than an economic tool for human trade.
Okay, think of it like an empty envelope. The envelope itself has no inherent value. It just holds whatever message or whatever value you decide to slide inside of it.
That's a perfect analogy.
So the computer script basically says, hey, whatever data is sitting in position number 2, I'm going to call you $2 for now. It's totally hollow.
Exactly.
But wait, if you think about it, isn't a physical $2 bill also just a formal parameter? I mean, it's literally just a piece of paper. It has no real inherent value until society collectively agrees to slide some purchasing power into it, like agreeing it equals a cup of coffee.
Let's take that a step further, because that is the defining reality of modern money. Fiat currency, the money we use every single day, is purely a societal parameter.
A societal parameter. I love that phrase.
The cotton and linen blend of a U.S. $2 bill is essentially worthless on its own. The value is only what we, the collective human system, pass into it through consensus. In a computer system, the machine passes data into that parameter so a program can run. In the human system, the economy passes purchasing power into the symbol so society can run.
That is mind-blowing. It's the exact same mechanism of abstraction, just applied in two totally different realities. We're basically just organic computers assigning temporary value to empty envelopes so we can buy our morning coffee.
Precisely. And the fact that both of these vastly different realities, the economic consensus and the digital logic, share the exact same text string is why we need to look at how this information is organized.
The digital crossroads.
Exactly. We can't ignore the actual structure of the disambiguation page itself. This isn't just a list found on a scroll in a cave. It's a highly structured piece of digital scaffolding. And the metadata of the page is just as revealing as the content itself.
Yes, the invisible elements of the source that we scroll past every single day. The page notes mention things like toggles for light and dark modes, text and width adjustments, and something called birthday mode or baby globe, which celebrates the anniversary of Wikipedia.
Those little human touches.
Right.
It also explicitly states that all of this text is available under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 4.0 license.
Very important detail.
And then there's the literal definition of the page's purpose, written right there in the text. It exists for when an internal link incorrectly led you here.
That phrase, incorrectly led you here, is the crux of an enormous epistemological problem. As we discussed earlier, human language is overloaded. We reuse symbols relentlessly because we are lazy.
We really are.
But a computer system, a database, demands absolute precision. When a user or a hyperlink asks the server for that specific text string, the system throws its hands up.
It panics.
Yeah. It doesn't know if you want the history of the Canadian toonie, the exchange rate of a Tongan paʻanga, or a lesson in bash scripting parameters. So the disambiguation page acts as a necessary human-designed filter to clarify intent in an age of total information overload. It's like an incredibly patient digital traffic cop. You have all these confused internet drivers barreling down the information highway. They all ask their digital GPS for the same destination, but they all meant entirely different things.
Chaos without it.
Total chaos. And this page just stands in the middle of the intersection blowing a whistle saying, okay, if you want Canadian metal, go left. If you want island dollars, go right. If you want computer variables, Go straight.
It's a great analogy, but let's complicate that traffic cop a bit. It's a traffic cop that only exists because humans are terrible drivers who keep naming different cities the exact same thing.
That is painfully accurate.
The machine requires this page because it cannot read our minds.
Hmm.
And the way this page is built, the Creative Commons license you mentioned, is crucial. Unlike a copyrighted proprietary encyclopedia from 40 years ago, this digital traffic cop is crowdsourced.
Right.
The Creative Commons license democratizes the filtering of knowledge. It means society collectively decides how to separate the Canadian coin from the computer code.
And even things like birthday mode remind us of that human element. We think of the internet as this cold, sterile database, but there are actual humans curating it, injecting little celebrations of its creation into the margins.
Definitely.
So I want to address you, the listener, directly for a second. When was the last time you stopped to think about the fact that your digital knowledge is being quietly shaped by things like birthday mode or the rules of a Creative Commons license? We take the delivery system of our knowledge completely for granted.
We really do. We constantly focus on the destination and completely ignore the roads. But the roads, the architecture of the database, the open source licensing, the categorization logic, that is what actually makes the vastness of human knowledge navigable.
Absolutely.
Without this specific page structure, without that digital traffic cop, the history of the Australian $2 coin and the function of a programming script would just be a tangled, unreadable mess of overlapping data.
So what does this all mean? Let's briefly recap the massive conceptual distance we just traveled from a simple $sign and a number 2. We started by looking at the physical weight of money, the intentional replacement of paper with metal, the birth of the Canadian toonie, and how the velocity of money forces physical evolution.
A huge global shift.
Then we looked at the stubborn outliers, with the U.S. clinging to a bill driven by artificial scarcity, while Hong Kong elevated their coin to the 3rd highest rank in their economy. We globe-trotted through a massive list of currencies, stopping to realize that in places like Tonga and Brazil, the $sign has been hijacked into a universal logogram for money itself.
The symbol outgrowing the word.
Exactly. And from there, we jumped out of the physical world entirely and into the abstract world of coding parameters, realizing that a piece of fiat paper and a line of code are basically the exact same thing, empty envelopes waiting for human consensus to give them value. And finally, we looked at the digital architecture of the internet itself, the very traffic cop that organizes this chaotic, overloaded reality for us.
It's an incredible spectrum of meaning to pack into just 2 characters. And I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder, building on the trajectory we've explored today.
Let's hear it.
We established that a disambiguation page exists to separate entirely different concepts that are forced by human habit to share the exact same text. But look at the macroeconomic trends. As global societies move further and further away from physical cash, as digital transactions, tap to pay, and digital wallets replace physical coins and paper bills entirely, what happens to this page?
Oh, wow.
Will there come a day when the physical definitions on this list, the toonies, the $2 bills, the pesos, slowly become purely historical artifacts? Will the abstract programming parameter eventually be the only active surviving definition left in modern use?
That's haunting.
Ultimately, will the digital code outlive the physical money it was named after?
That is a wild thought to leave on, the ultimate victory of the invisible programming parameter over the heavy metal coin. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope the next time you see a seemingly mundane symbol, a $2 bill on a birthday card, a random $sign on a menu, or even just a disambiguation link on a webpage, you look a little closer at the invisible crossroads hiding right beneath the surface. Stay curious.